In this lecture, I'll introduce fake invoice fraud. I'll also explain ransomware demands. I'm going to give you an example of a small UK company that fell victim to a ransomware demand. I'll talk a little bit about data theft, and I'll offer some general approaches to protecting a small business from some of the more common types of attacks. One attack frequently made against small business is fake invoice fraud. Fraudsters adopting this attack method often thoroughly research their victims, using readily available information found on websites, through social media, or on other online forums. Typically, they will pose as a real supplier, sending a genuine-looking invoice aiming to trick you into remitting money to their imposter's account. Or they might hack into your system to email fake invoices apparently coming from you to your real customers. They use every social engineering trick in the book. For example, urgent payment demand emails frequently arrive just before a holiday or the weekend, knowing that staff will be busy and less likely to double check. Ransomware has been in the news recently. Industry reports indicate that ransomware attacks on small business have become more frequent. Let's take you through an example of how a typical ransomware attack occurs. Before the ransomware attack, you can read and write files on your computer or network as you would expect. Then, seemingly out of the blue, a ransom demand arrives. The demand that's appeared on the screen now is fairly typical. There are a number of different ones, but their intent is always the same. Typically, it uses your browser. It will warn you, saying that your key documents and files have been encrypted. It will tell you that you have to make a payment. Usually, this payment is in bitcoins. Effectively, bitcoins are an untraceable form of digital currency. It's usual to have a countdown clock, after which the price increases, or your files will be lost forever. This illustrates how the attackers use social engineering to ratchet up the pressure on you. If this is authentic ransomware, your files have indeed been encrypted, unless or until the ransom is paid. You may still be able to see the file and folder structure, but attempt to open any of the files and they'll be total gibberish. In some cases, you can't even do that. Your computer is totally locked down and can't be used. The impact varies according to the strain of ransomware infecting your system. The average UK ransom demand is between £400 and £1,600. Industry reports suggest that only about 40% of SMEs report ransomware attacks. Now, what happens if you actually pay the ransom demand? Well, you've got a reasonably good chance of retrieving your data, but you need to be aware that 7% of ransom payers don't recover their data. There's an additional kind of ransomware called bluff ransomware. Industry reports claim that 40% of large businesses have fallen victim to bluff ransomware. As the name suggests, bluff ransomware doesn't really encrypt your files, but it does lock your screen and can be pesky, yet not impossible to remove. The idea is that it panics frightened users so much that they pay up without really investigating how to safely remove it. An unfortunate recent trend is that ransomware developers are deliberately targeting SMEs. They're doing this simply because SMEs are more likely to pay than many other classes of victim. Let's consider an example of a small UK company that fell victim to a ransomware attack. This is the sad story of NMH Platinum, a Blackburn-based fleet vehicle hire company. Somebody in the company clicked on an email and this installed ransomware malware. This malware managed to encrypt over 12,000 of their network files. Shortly afterwards, they received a ransom demand for over £3,000. IT support within the company was unable to fix the problem without losing critical data. So, M&H Platinum paid up. And they were lucky. Another of the common scams practiced against small companies is data theft. It's very common for fraudsters to target the finance and accounting teams of a company, because that's where the money is. They're seeking sensitive or confidential information about debit and credit cards, bank account passwords, anything that could lead them to where the money is. One of the ways that they do this is by introducing key logging software. And this example, coming up on the screen now, shows how in plain text you can see the normal transactional messages going backwards and forwards over a computer network. Such software is relatively easy to obtain, but it has to be installed on the victim's system. If you can get hold of such information, you've now got the keys to their kingdom. What advice can be offered to a small business seeking to protect itself from these common scams? Mainly, it comes down to raising staff information security awareness. Ensure staff understand they need to be vigilant about payment requests, particularly when such requests are made at busy times. That when they receive a demand for payment, they should validate the contact's email address, rather than simply hitting the reply button. And, if they feel at all doubtful about making a payment, call the supplier directly to check that payment is really due prior to making the payment. Other protective measures, particularly around ransomware threats. If a ransomware demand arrives, seek expert security advice. It could be bluff ransomware that can be relatively easily removed. But if you do make a ransom payment, be aware that you still run the risk that you may not recover all of your data. Or the attacker may return, demanding further payments. In the case of ransomware, an ounce of prevention is far better than a pound of cure. Take simple precautions. Educate staff about the commonplace threats. Keep multiple backups of your data stored in different places. Such strategies significantly reduce your chances of becoming an unhappy, poorer ransomware victim.